Hi everyone, thanks for joining us here at Book Blather. If you're new here, I'm Dave, this is Olive, and we mostly talk about books and some other things. So we have a couple more reads from June to tell you about, but first we wanted to get up this video because it is a July reading event. So what reading event are we talking about? This is Rocket Summer. This was started by Michael K. Vaughan. There are a number of co-hosts, and we'll leave all those below. But basically the gist of this reading event is in the month of July to, explore classic science fiction. So basically 4 weeks, right? The first one is old science fiction. So it's, according to Michael, it's whenever you think science fiction started, and there's debate about when that was, up through the 1930s. So something from the 1930s or earlier. Week 2 is something from the 1940s. Week 3 is something from the 1950s. And week 4 is something from the 1960s. That was almost a tongue twister. So we want to tell you about that today. It is hot. It is really hot to be filming today. I want to do it outside, but it is brutal. I think it's 97, 98 degrees right now. So sorry for the shirt, but I'm still like a little discolored here from the surgery. So that's what that is. But it's just too hot. It's too hot. So anyway, we are not fully committed to this reading event, but we do Rocket Summer every year. So this July we're going to be doing a few other things during the month. But we all, for example, we want to read. So Apple is coming out with this Neuromancer show in the future. So we wanted to read the Neuromancer books. So this famous Neuromancer by William Gibson. But first we wanted to read Burning Chrome, which is a collection of short stories that are set in that world, the sprawl. And there's a few stories in here that these stories came before. Most of them came before Neuromancer, and there's a few here that you allegedly should read before Neuromancer. Never read these, so a couple things like that. We might start our Don Quixote project later in the month, so we'll see. But we do always partake in Rocket Summer, and so we have like a pile of possibilities. We will be reading a few things for it. So we've got something to cover, basically each of those prompts, each of the time frames. We won't read them all. We won't have time to read them all, but this will show you the stuff we pulled aside and what some of the possibilities are. So one which we will definitely be reading is the old one, and this is Herland by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. And although this book wasn't published till 1979, I think, this was actually originally published in 1915. I think it's very old. Charlotte Perkins Gilman's of the Yellow Wallpaper fame. She had her own magazine back then in 1909 to 1915, maybe something like that. And so anyway, she published this serially in that magazine. She wrote everything for that magazine. But anyway, it was finally put in book form in the 70s. But it qualifies as really old because it was, like I said, 1915-ish that this was written. So and this is a very early feminist novel. This is about feminist sci-fi. This is about 3 guys that go and find this utopia that is of only women. It's basically one of the first stories of that type. And it's only women that live there. The women are able to reproduce without men, and it's a wonderful society. So it sounded really, really, really interesting, and we wanted to read that. So for the next one, for the 1940s, we pulled aside a short story collection. This is the Astounding Science Fiction Anthology. So this is select stories that were pulled out of the astounding science fiction, and these are bigwigs: Murray Leinster, Lester Del Rey, Isaac Asimov, Clifford D. Simak, Van Vogt. Is that how you pronounce it? I should know how to pronounce that by now. But it's edited by Campbell, who is one of the biggest names in old science fiction. So that was most of them, and all of these stories in this were from the 1940s, I think, or almost all of them. So we may read a few out of here, not the whole thing, I'm sure, but this would cover our 1940s. It's one of a couple short story anthologies that we have, but we'll show you that in a second. So then for the 50s, we're almost positive we're going to read this, is The Long Tomorrow by Lee Brackett. And this is a novel about. I love this edition, and this is a novel about. Um, this is one that our friend Gareth over Book Songs of Magic has talked about a number of times. He really likes this novel, and this is like post-nuclear war, and there has been like a 30th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution where. So it's like post-technology, like everybody is like anti-technology in this post-nuclear war of devastation. Technology is hated, and so it's kind of like they live kind of like everybody lives a more rural life, and there's this like 30th Amendment to the Constitution that says you cannot have any. They're not rebuilding the big cities, and what the amendment says is you can't have anybody. You can't have more than 1,000 people, or I think 200 buildings within a square mile, or something like that, to prevent any big cities from forming again. It sounded really cool. It sounded like a pretty cool pretty original post-apocalyptic concept. So we're pretty interested in that. Then for the 50s, we covered this with two different things, and that are possible. We'll see. One is Robert A. Heinlein, Tunnel in the Sky. So, we've read a number of Heinlein stuff, Stranger in a Strange Land, of course. A book that we really love that's up there, like in our top books, that I don't hear talked about enough is Orphans in the Sky. And this is one of those ones where, like, old Starship generations. I love these Generation Starship stories where nobody remembers anymore that they're even on a starship, and it's been stratified into different kind of types of society and stuff. Really, really cool book. Anyway, so we obviously want to read that. We have a lot more Heinlein paperbacks that we want to try. This is one of them, Tunnel in the Sky. There's teleportation, and these students, I think they were in this one, students get teleported to another planet to engage in what they think is like a survival test for like 10 days or something, and things go wrong, and they get stranded there, and they have to survive on this hostile planet. And so that's pretty much all I know, but it sounds cool. The other one that was this from the 50s? Oh, no. The Long Tomorrow and Tunnel in the Sky were both from the 50s, I think. This is from the 60s. This is 62. This is Robert Silverberg, The Seed of Earth. Not to be confused with his other seed. So this originally was a short story with a different name, The Winds of Something, then turned into a novelette, then expanded into this novel with the name The Seed of Earth in 62. This is different from Silverberg's other short story called The Seed of Earth, and from like the 50s or something. So anyway, this is about their Earth is sending out different ships to colonize other worlds. And so this is about a particular ship that goes to this planet, and it's hostile, and there's some hostile natives there, and so it's challenging, and that's all I know, but it sounds like my kind of thing. So that's to cover each of those. We got each of those different time periods covered. We also, as I said, a lot of classic science fiction, of course, had its origins in short stories, and there's still a lot of those today, right? Still a bunch of science fiction short story magazines. It's been a major format for science fiction. So not only did we pull aside this one for that, but we also pulled aside two others that we might dab into. This is Alien Worlds, and this has a bunch of people: Paul Anderson, Robert Bloch, John Brunner, John Campbell, Philip K. Dick, Edmund Hamilton, Eric Frank Russell, Robert Sheckley, Clifford D. Samack, John Wyndham. So a lot of big names. And this covers stories from 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. That's why we pulled this aside. I don't know if we'll have time to get into that, but the last one we pulled aside was this, A Century of Science Fiction. So again, a nice sampling of many years. So this is called A Century of Science Fiction, but this was published in the 60s, I think. So it's 1962. This is put together by Damon Knight, another legend. And this is 100 years of stories up till 1962. So it really covers a lot of different time frames. And we will definitely be dipping into this a little bit. There's at least one story that we really, really want to read in this. And we will tell you more about that and what drew us to that story when we review it. So that about does it. That's everything that we may read science fiction wise in July. Obviously, we won't get to all of them. It's just a pile of possibilities, but that's some of the things we're gonna dabble into. So let us know if you're partaking in Rocket Summer. Let us know what you're reading. Let us know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. Or if you don't have anything substantive to say, you can always leave Olive a puppy emoji, because she does always like to see those. Where'd they go? Are they in my pocket? They're in my pocket. Here you go. I almost forgot about your pick-me-ups. Okay. You have anything else to add about Rocket Summer? Anything else you wanted to talk about? No? You just joining me on my books, right? You don't have any of your own this month? No? Okay. All right, so thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you again very soon. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.